Let's make a junk journal from beginning to end with a McDonald's lamb box. McDonald's is very popular right now. This is a very easy, beginner-friendly tutorial with simple, accessible craft supplies. Hello, welcome back to my channel, Thrifty Day. My name is Leah. I'm the creator behind Thrifty Day. Today's episode is going to be really fun because we are going to be taking the McDonald's box. Okay, first of all, let's backtrack. If you're anything like me, you have been very excited about the McDonald's adult Happy Meal situation where they gave these tins. I do a whole unboxing of like multiple over on TikTok. So I will link my TikTok down below. If you wanted to watch that, you can head over there and see them. But this is the Ronald McDonald one. They actually came in these really cute boxes. So instead of just tossing this adorable double-sided box, I thought it would be fun to turn this box into a junk journal. So that's what this episode is going to be. We're going to be taking the box that was meant to go in the trash. We are going to be making a whole junk journal out of it. So save your box, enjoy your tin. It even comes wrapped in these like paper, so save your paper. And if you were lucky enough to be like me, I know some of the McDonald's even have these adorable bags. So save the bags because that way we can use them as pages and papers. So if you are interested in learning a very fun journal tutorial, stay tuned. This is the video for you. I actually already made this tutorial over on TikTok. It's about 10 minutes. It's very condensed. So I wanted a longer, more detailed version in a real-time fashion here on YouTube. So let's talk about the supplies you are going to need. Of course, you're going to need the box from McDonald's that the tin came in. You are also going to need a composition book, some duct tape. You can choose any print you like. I chose checker. You are also going to need a variety of papers and pages. If you want it to be very eclectic and interesting, make sure you're mixing cardstock with lighter weight paper, with lined paper. You could even use the bag from McDonald's. I have some lined paper and envelope. These are some offcuts from the original McDonald's journal I made, some of the tissue, some lined paper. I actually got this lined paper from the cutest journal that was sent to me from Rena. How cute is this journal? I just ripped a couple pages out because they had the original characters on it. You could even cut up a Happy Meal box. I was very lucky because I also had a vintage Ronald McDonald book that was just sent to me in some Happy Mail. So I took a couple pages out of that. I made sure Grimace was on there because Grimace is my favorite. But how cute is this vintage book? I feel like that first page I want to turn into an actual journal. I just love the colors. I love the vibe. I love it all. So I took a couple pages out of this book. Both journals actually have pages from this book. And then I also used some of the paper, vintage papers and pages that came in the ephemera pack that I just opened from Bang Bang Paper over on TikTok. And of course the bag, I'll show you how I cut that up and use it, but be really creative. Make sure you have a whole mix of pages and papers because a junk journal is fun because it is so eclectic. You will also need scissors or a paper cutter or both. You will also need an awl and some clips and embroidery thread and an embroidery needle. You will also need fabric tack. All of these supplies can be found on Amazon or at any craft store. The next supplies I'm going to show you are optional. I have some stickers from Rena's shop, who is linked below. I love the way they look popping out of the top of the journal. Some ribbon, any color, a large paper clip, or even a standard paper clip would be fine. I made a charm out of my little Happy Meal toy from last month. I guess we're all just eating McDonald's all the time these days. And a variety of trim. And then I have some rickrack for the front I'm showing you there. All of the items I just showed you are decorative, not necessary. They're more aesthetic than actual functional items that you'll need. Okay, so the first step is to deconstruct our composition book. Every composition book has the pages sewn into the spine. So what I do is get a small pair of scissors or anything sharp, even like, just anything sharp. And I sort of snip those stitches. And then as you can see, once I'm done doing that, the pages literally just slide right out. And don't get rid of all of this paper. This is great paper. I don't use it in my journal. You absolutely can put it right back in yours. You'll just need to cut down the pages. I usually save it for upcoming journals or even to use to make lists in my junk planner. So make sure you keep that, lined paper block. It's really good paper and it's great to sew into journals as like extra paper. The other thing I usually have to do is you can see that some of the fibers are still in the spine. So I just go out. They usually just come right out. You just sort of pull them out. That way you're left with a nice, clean composition book cover, and that will sort of serve as the base for our junk journal. Also, if you are enjoying this tutorial, please be sure to hit the like button. That means so much to me. It helps my channel a lot. I love creating these tutorials and different content for YouTube. So by hitting that like button, you let me know that you like it as well. Alrighty, let's move on to the next step. The next step is now we need to deconstruct the McDonald's box that the tin came in. So I'm just going to use my scissors and I'm going to cut up one side of the box. That way it sort of can open and lay flat. And then I'm going to use my paper cutter because if you know me and you've been on this channel before, you know that I cannot cut a straight line for anything. I also tried to remove that sticker from the little tab that opened and closed the box. It didn't come off perfect, but that's okay. And don't worry that it has that tab at the top. Once we glue everything together, you really won't even be able to see it or even notice it. So now what I'm going to do is use my paper cutter and I'm just going to trim off all the excess of the box because ultimately what we want to be left with are two rectangles. Exactly the same size. So trim away, try not to trim too much. There are like perforated, not perforated, but like lines where the box was created, you know, bended sort of together. So that's exactly where you want to cut. Look for those lines and just trim right on them. We want to keep as much of the images as possible though, because those images are so cute and that's obviously going to serve as the journal cover. So take your time, really make sure that you are saving as much of that as possible and that your lines are nice and straight. Please note that this can get tricky because the way the box is, it's just bended and folded and you've probably ripped it open trying to get the tin out. So really take your time and just make sure that it's as straight and perfect as it can be. And then once we have our two rectangles cut out, we are going to get our composition book cover and our fabric tack, and we are going to glue these to the front of that cover. Now, I usually like to lay my composition book cover nice and flat on my desk. I like to lay it out to make sure that it looks nice, and then I grab my fabric tack and I put a generous amount of fabric tack onto whatever I'm gluing onto my cover. And when I say generous, I mean generous. I did keep this video in real time for here on YouTube so you can actually see how much I use and how I put it onto the cover, because I have seen comments before about people saying, I feel like steps were left out. Mine never comes out looking this way. I promise you this is every step and in real time. I wanted to make sure that if you had questioned how much glue you used or how you cut, that perhaps by seeing it not sped up and in actual real time, it would be really helpful in your process as well. So it does make for a bit of a longer video, but I do hope that it's helpful. Let me know in the comments if that's something you like, or if you would like it in the future sped up a little bit, because honestly, I know it's long. I love a long video, but sometimes I feel like I may be alone on that island. So let me know what you think. And don't forget to put the cap back on your fabric tack. That is expensive glue, folks. You want to use every single drop. So make sure you're putting the cap on after every time that you use it. And I'm sorry I'm out of frame a little bit. It's hard to make a junk journal tutorial for YouTube. I don't know why. I think it's because my inclination or my first thought is to always bring it just a little bit closer to me. Anyway, I use a bone folder to make sure that the covers are completely glued on evenly as possible. We don't want bubbles or wrinkles or anything like that. So use your bone folder to do that. Once we are done, we are going to put the cover aside, just set it aside somewhere so that we can work on our pages. So what we need to do is fold all of our pages in half. And like I said, make sure there's a big variety. You don't want all of your pages to be exactly the same. I mean, maybe you do, and that's okay too. But if you want your journal to look like the one in this tutorial, make sure you are having a variety of sizes and textures. And I think it's important to note that you can change this tutorial in any way to suit how you like to create. So if you are somebody who's like, no, I really like all my pages to be exactly the same and uniform, absolutely do that. If you don't want to use duct tape, you don't have to. You could use something else. If you don't want to use fabric tack, you can use a different type of glue. This is really just a blueprint for you to help assist in your process. And by the way, if you do this tutorial, I would love for you to tag me if you post it. Not only would I love to see your work, I'd love to see that people are inspired, but it also is very important to me as a creator to tag creators. So that would be awesome. I would truly appreciate that. So now what I'm going to do is create some simple pockets to go into this junk journal. So I need to trim down these pages, but I also want to add some pockets. This is actually a step that I did not do in the TikTok tutorial, so I thought I would add it here. I do these on lives all the time, and I'm sure you've seen them across many creators' tutorials here on YouTube. But you just use your paper cutter and your bone folder to create a scoring line so that it folds perfectly. I also need to make sure, because I don't want any of that image to get cut out, that I sort of fold the page like not right in the middle. I want to make sure that when I trim the pages for the width of the journal, that that image is still intact. So I just sort of do a quick eyeball and I fold it a little bit offset, and that will help make sure that that image is 100% there. And we have a pocket. It's so cute. I have 3 pieces of cardstock, and so one of them I didn't make a pocket, otherwise it would be like pocket, pocket, pocket. So my last piece of cardstock, however, I create that score line, and then I trim it because I don't want the pocket to be too huge. So once I trim that pocket so that it's just the right size, then I fold it and create another page, and we are about ready to go in terms of pages. We do need to make sure that the length on all of the other pages is correct as well, so we're going to need to trim those down. Now, the pages part can get a little tedious, I agree, but it is worth it to make sure that you have a nice uniform look once your journal is complete. So let's take apart this bag first. I just sliced down one side, and then ultimately what I need to do here is completely remove the bottom. That way I'm left with one long piece of McDonald's paper, if you will, and the images are really cute, you guys. So if you got this bag, I highly, highly, highly recommend saving it and using it in your journal. The Hamburglar is on it. Grimace is a DJ. I mean, the content is top tier, honestly. So once I completely cut out the bottom and I lay out the bag, what I do is I cut out 2 large rectangles, and then I'm just going to fold them over, trim them down, and essentially just sew them into the journal. And you might be thinking, oh, but now they're like on their side. They're not the right side. I would have done it where you just fold it over so that the characters are the right way. You're absolutely welcome to do that. I think that would look adorable. I kind of like doing it this way because I get 2 pages instead of 1. And I'm not somebody who is really hung up on everything facing the right way. I think it's very interesting when there's different directions, like I said, different textures, different sizes. So to me, I actually think it adds a level of like eclecticness that I really love in a junk journal. But again, this is your journal. If you want to make sure those characters are facing the right way, absolutely. That's an easy fix, and you can do that as well. So now what I need to do is go through and make sure that all of the other papers and pages are the correct height. The boxes themselves are about 6 3/4 inches tall, which means I want my pages to be slightly smaller than that. I don't want them to be exactly that because I do want to have a little wiggle room on the top and the bottom. To me, with my eye, I like that look in a journal. I don't like it to be completely flush on the top or the bottom. So I'm just going through and trimming. Some of the papers and pages are already smaller, so that's perfect. And then some of them, even though they are a little bit smaller, I'm still trimming the top because maybe it was a rough cut or just to make it look a little bit cleaner. You don't have to do that. I just like the way it looks. So once the tedious part is done, now is kind of the fun part. You get to gather all your papers, and we are going to create one signature to be sewn into our journal. A signature is just a grouping of papers and pages that you sew into your journal, so that's what we're creating now. I have been asked before if I have some sort of formula for creating signatures, and the answer is not really, because I use so many different vintage papers and pages usually that I don't always have the same thing. So I guess in my brain, when I am putting together a signature, I just try to make sure that it's always different paperweights. Some, if they're really bright, I try to mix in others that may not be as bright. If it's a vintage page, then I try to mix in something that isn't vintage. I just try to really vary it, make it look very interesting and fun so that when the recipient opens the journal, it's very interesting and has a neat, eclectic look to it. And if there are book pages, we don't have book pages for this tutorial, but we do have pages with McDonald's content. So I do try to make sure that I spread those evenly throughout the journal. So I start with one, and then I usually put one close to the end as well. And I think that makes for a nice, themed junk journal. And for this tutorial, as opposed to the one on TikTok, I used a lot of pages. I wanted it to be a nice thick journal. And so I have probably close to 20 separate pieces of paper for this signature, and I'm very happy with it. I think it's perfect. So put a clip on it, set it aside, because now that our cover is dry, we are going to trim the cover. If you had scissors, you could just use scissors, but again, just to reiterate what I said earlier, I cannot cut a straight line, and I am being very honest. That is not me being hard on myself. I literally can't. I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I just use my paper cutter. It works fine. We're almost there. Once I cut off the two sides, then I cut off the top. I start with the sides because if I tried to start with the top, it would be too long for my paper cutter. So in case you were wondering, but here we go. We have our cover. I already think it looks adorable. Isn't that super cute? All right, let's get into the next portion. The next part of this tutorial involves trimming the width of our pages. I know we do a lot of trimming. So what I'm going to do is all willy-nilly just make a line, eyeballing it when I put the papers and pages into the actual cover. And I gotta be honest, because I eyeball everything, I have no idea what the actual width is. So I use the same paper cutter. I talked about this in Journal Talk Tuesday. This is the fanciest thing in my studio, is this paper cutter. But I just use it and I trim down the width. Easy peasy. And now that that part is completely done, the next step is one that I know most of you dread. And while I have thought about trying to do a no-sew tutorial, this one just isn't it. There is going to be sewing, but I promise you it will be easy. We're going to do it together step by step. So grab those clips, clip them into the journal cover so that those pages don't slip around, cover your space. I also have these little foams. These came with my phone, but I use it as like an extra cushion. And since this is only a one signature journal, you don't need any sort of like template. You just need to poke one hole in the center, one hole on the top, and then one hole on the bottom. We're going to do a very simple 3-hole pamphlet stitch to sew this journal together. So now is the time to grab that embroidery needle and thread and let's get this junk journal sewn. It doesn't really matter what color thread you use because it's going to get covered by the duct tape. So whatever you have will work. I measure 3 lengths. I know it's probably too much thread, but I have found it's easier to sew when you have too much thread as opposed to too little thread. I always use a little bit of washi tape to hold that tail down. I don't know, I think it's just makes me feel better. I don't want to lose the tail. So start in the middle, go through that middle hole, and then once you're on the outside of the journal, go to the top hole and come out of the inside. You are going to go back to that middle hole, being careful not to puncture through the thread that's already there. Go down to the bottom hole, which will have you come out the inside of the journal, and then go back to that center hole. Go all the way through, and then go back to the top hole. Once you go through that top hole and you're back inside the journal cover, skip the middle hole, go all the way down to the bottom hole. That will take you outside the journal cover, go back and through the middle, and you will have 2 tails on the inside of your junk journal that you can now knot together to secure those pages. Make sure that you save this video so if you need to refer to it, you always have it, whether you're making this journal or any other journal. So now you can remove the clips, you can remove the washi tape, and then you can just tie a very simple set of knots right in the middle. Make sure that your loops on the back of the journal cover are also nice and taut. And then I tie 3 knots. I'm sure 2 would do, but I always do 3. It's just like tradition or something. And once your knots are tied, you are done. Well, you're done sewing the signatures in, which I know is the part that most of us really don't like. So well done if you did it. Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear. And so now we really get to decorate, which is the fun part. How cute are all these pages? See, look at how sweet that looks. It's so bright. It's so eclectic. It's so fun. And don't worry if it feels a little stiff right now. It will definitely soften up and be like more of a normal journal. The next step will be adding the duct tape to the spine. So I always get a nice length of the duct tape. I tape it onto my workspace and then I use a blade to just cut it. It's better than wasting your scissors and getting them all sticky. Once you have that length of duct tape cut, you are going to put it on the spine of your journal. It's very simple. You just put half on one side of the journal and then half on the other. A trick is I don't press down firmly until I look at the journal and make sure that it is exactly on the way I want it to be. So once that's the case and I'm happy, then I move on to the next step, which is trimming, and then I press it on more firmly. So once I'm happy with the placement, then I usually use my bone folder or whatever is handy, honestly, to make sure that that duct tape is on there nice and secure. So I just happen to have my little X-Acto knife, and I'm just going to press it down firmly. And now I'm going to use an old pair of scissors to trim off the top and the bottom of that duct tape. Make sure it's an old pair of scissors because they will get sticky, because duct tape is very sticky. Although I do hear there's scissors now that are non-stick. I need to buy some. Does anybody have any good recommendations? I really, really, really want them. I think it's Fiskars. Am I right? Does Fiskars have the non-stick scissors? I definitely need to look into it. Anyway, you are almost there. Keep trimming. Be patient. You just use the actual top and bottom of the journal as like your guide. Just trim right along and you are all good to go. Look at how cute that looks. We're officially entering the decorative portion of this tutorial. So grab some protective papers or tissue. You don't want any glue to get onto your pages. So if you've ever received a package from me or a box, you have that checkered print tissue, throw that in there to protect the pages. Let's reuse as much as we can, right? For this step, I am going to use fabric tack, and I highly recommend using fabric tack because we are gluing rickrack onto paper, essentially, cardboard and plasticky duct tape. So use that fabric tack if you plan on adding rickrack. I think hot glue might work too, but I always use fabric tack. Now you are going to want this to dry just a little bit before you flip it over and do the back. You obviously don't get to see mine dry because otherwise we'd be sitting here just looking at a journal dry, which is a little bit silly. So do give it about 10 minutes, then flip it over and do the back. You just do the exact same thing. And you don't need to press your rickrack down right away. Fabric tack, it takes a minute to dry. So put it on there, make sure the placement is nice, and then tap it so that it adheres well, but let it get a little tacky before you really sort of push it down to make sure it's firmly in place. Because the last thing you want is a ton of glue all over your rickrack. It just doesn't look as pretty. So trust me, just be patient and give it time and take your time. Now we just need to trim the tails of our rickrack, which is very easy. Just get your good sharp scissors and follow the top and bottom of your journal cover to trim the rickrack, and you are done with that step. I think this journal looks so cute. What do you think? I'm so happy. And I'm so sorry if you can hear the pounding. Of course, every neighbor in my neighborhood is doing some sort of homework. It's been really fun. Buzzsaws and hammers around the clock. Anyway, I do apologize. We are going to be adding gold corners next. They are just faux gold corners. You can find them at craft stores and on Amazon. I am going to put them on each corner of the journal cover, and I'm going to use my pliers. I think these are pliers, and I'm just going to press them into place. It's very simple. I don't have a special tool. This is what I use. It works great. And again, this step is completely optional. You do not have to add these metal book corners. I just like the way they look. I feel like they give a nice finished look. I also think that it prevents the corners from lifting, which is nice, especially if you plan on using this like a junk journal. We add a lot of things. We're constantly, using clips to hold things down. I think that corners just help secure that cover in place. And we are so close to being done. We are going to be adding trim next and some more decorative embellishments throughout the journal. And I also want to add a cute little charm made from the Happy Meal toys from last month. But how cute? What do you guys think so far? So I grabbed some trim from my trim bin. A lot of this is from Faylene. Thank you, Faylene. She's so sweet. She sends the most thoughtful gifts. She's a part of my Patreon community. She's a moderator and also a friend. So thank you, Faylene. And we are going to do this the easy willy-nilly way, and we are going to staple this trim in. I am going to choose a cardstock page that is a pocket because I would already need to seal that pocket. So why not add some trim? Decorative trim is included, and now that pocket is sealed. So I'm going to look for another cardstock page that has a pocket, and I'm going to add a ruffle. And if you're wondering how I create ruffles with staples, just keep watching. I staple that piece of trim right to the end of the page. I fold it up about a 1/2 inch and I staple again. And I repeat that process all the way down until we have a really cute ruffle at the end. How sweet is this trim with little bows? Isn't that cute? And this is double duty because I'm also sealing that pocket, which is so nice. So make those little ruffles, make it look cute. You don't have to have a sewing machine to do this. It's very simple and it's just a great little look. Let me show you. I love the tactile feel as well. How cute is that? We do need to seal down our other pockets. So I know we have 2 more, so I'm going to use my stapler to do it. I love using staples. These are gold staples. I actually think they add a really cute little feel and a vibe too. But you can glue these down. You can use your sewing machine. You can do whatever you want actually. So now that the actual journal is embellished and trim is added and pockets are done, you know me, more is more. So I want to add some cute stuff all around the top and maybe even a cute tab. These are stickers that my friend Rena has in her shop. I have linked her shop and her account down below. I use them in the TikTok tutorial. I only have 2 left, so let's see if I could still make one of those work. And then we can also pull out the tin. I have 1 extra Hamburglar tin that has stickers. We're just going to pull all the fun stuff out and decorate and see what we can make happen. How cute is that chicken nugget tray? Oh, and I totally misspoke. I have an extra Mayor McCheese tin, not Hamburglar. So we're going to see what's in here, what we can use to help embellish. And this sticker is so cute. Look at that Mayor McCheese. Oh my God. These are the cutest McDonald's toys ever. So the only thing is with the stickers from McDonald's is they're pretty thin. That's okay. If you get the stickers from Rena, they're very thick and they're perfect to have popping out of a journal. But you know, use what you got, right? So I am going to create a cute bow to put on the side of our journal. I'm just going to get a good length of that. I'm going to put it through one of these large paper clips and I'm going to tie a bow. I just stick it right into the journal so that it's nice and secure and I tie a bow that way. It's just very easy. I think it adds a sweet look, but also if the recipient or myself, whoever ends up using this journal, doesn't want to keep that bow in there, it's removable. And for me, customization in a junk journal is so important. I want to be able to use this journal in a very creative way. It's not just like decoration or decor. I want it to be very usable. So I just stick it in there. I'm going to make a bow. I love this gingham fabric. I think it adds a sweet little touch. And let me know what you think though. Do you like bows and embellishments popping out of your journal? I'd love to hear. Now, all of this little chicken nugget tray is one of the toys from the McDonald's Happy Meals, and I punched a hole in it and put it on a clip. So I'm going to add that right to the cover as well. I think it looks super cute. It adds a great touch, but not gonna lie, these journals could use a real journal charm. Rena, looking at you. Anyway, let's add some of these stickers to the top. Definitely going to add Mayor McCheese, and I love the boo buckets. So I think the boo buckets are going to make the cut too. I think it looks precious. I also have this little wooden star. Let's add it all and see where it takes us. I'm just going to use washi tape to put it right into the journal. Again, I like things to be removable. I like there to be a lot of customization options. So this is just for fun. And I'm going to add Hamburglar next. He's so cute. So tell me what tins you all got while you watch me embellish. Who did you get? Who was your favorite? I have Ronald, Hamburglar, 3 Mayor McCheeses, although I gave one to my daughter. And who else do I have? Does anybody remember? I feel like I got one more and I can't. Oh, Grimace. Hello, my favorite. I still don't have the Fry Friends and I still don't have Birdie. I know. I don't know if I'm going to go back. I have, you know, you can only eat McDonald's so many times, but they were really cute. So McDonald's, if you see this, thank you. Thank you for looking out for the junk journal community because we are in love. If you watched my TikTok tutorial, you saw that I used this sheet of tickets as a page, and it was a little bit too long, so I had to trim it. So I had these random tickets left. And the problem is when you let a little bit of ephemera like this go into your ephemera bin, it often gets lost and not used. So I was very, very intent on using it in the journal because, you know, use it or lose it, right? Okay, we're done. What do you think? Was it easy to follow? Is this something you're going to make? I would love to hear. Let's do a little flip through so you can see the finished product. I think it came out really cute. I have lots of boxes left from my McDonald's tins. So I actually may even make one of these on a Patreon live. If you are on my Patreon, let me know if that's something you're interested in. I know I have a tutorial over on TikTok, and now I have this long and chatty one here on YouTube, but sometimes it's really fun to make one live because when the live community on Patreon is watching, they can actually ask questions in real time, see how long things actually take, also be a part of the embellishing process. So if you are a part of my Patreon, or if you'd like to be a part of my Patreon, let me know if that's something you'd like to see. It's just something I'm thinking would be fun for next week. So that might be something. I did add a couple of the postcards from the Mayor McCheese tin because why not? They were extra. And I just put them right into the pockets. You guys, this is a very functional junk journal. I think it's adorable. It came out so cute. Look at those boo buckets from Rena. Be sure to grab those stickers, guys. It's always so awesome to support another small business as well. And like I said before, her shop and her account are linked below. So that is it, friends. That is the McDonald's Land box tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were inspired. If you plan on creating this junk journal and sharing it, be sure to tag me so I can see. As always, I appreciate your presence and have a really good day, friends. Talk to you soon. Bye.